Good afternoon. Today is January 7th, 2020. Happy New Year if you're watching this in the early days of 2020. Today I want to take a few minutes and talk about multiple offers, also a little bit just about presenting offers to begin with, but more importantly, multiple offers, breaking it down into the two scenarios. You're the listing agent, which is much more complex in dealing with multiple offers versus being a buyer's agent submitting an offer that you come to find out that you're in multiples. So I want to talk in generalities a little bit about it first, and then I'll talk about some specifics that through my experience I've been involved in with multiple offers on both sides of the table, representing the seller, representing the buyer. I also want to say that this is an area that can cause a lot of heartache for people, bruised feelings when you're dealing with people that lose out on properties and buyers in multiple offers, as well as the agents that you're dealing with if you don't handle it correctly. I'm not an attorney, neither are you, and with that being said, a lot of the information that I'm giving you is through my years of experience. But also, I did take time to kind of reconfirm some of my thoughts through a couple of great resources. Number one, and the main one, would be the Ohio Association of Realtors website, which if you are not engaged with that, I think that you should be. They do have a legal section, and you do see a lot of white papers. You do see a lot of information about these types of things that kind of tell you what you can and can't do. Our industry has got a lot of rules and a lot of regulations and a lot of right ways to handle things. Currently, there's a vice president of OAR who's the legal affairs person, Peg Rittenauer, who has a lot of videos that I think they would find helpful. So, with that being said, let me dive into this and let me talk a little bit about it. So, I think first off, I'm going to deal with it from the buyer's side. You're the buyer's agent because the moving parts are much less. You write up an offer. You may know that you're in multiple offers. You may not, but you write up an offer, and you find out that you're in multiple offers, and that gets handled a lot of different ways. The other agent could come to you and say that you're in multiple offers, and we want your highest and best by a certain time. Pretty straightforward. They could come back to you and say, you're in multiples, and we are rejecting your offer, and we've gone with another offer, without even notifying you that you're in multiples, which they're able to do. They could come back and say, we're in multiples and we like your offer, but we want you to make the following changes. And if you agree to those, we're going to be good to go with you. So on a buyer standpoint, it's pretty straightforward. You're writing the offer and then either you're revising it or you're being rejected. So it just really depends on how the other agent, meaning the lister, handles it. The other thing about that, when it comes to if you know you're in multiple offers, there's a whole issue about using an escalation amendment or clause, which you do have access to. You would need to talk with Janet Martin or John Lynch at this time to find out, what that form's about. The Market Center does not have it on .loop currently. It's kind of a situation where before they're going to give it to you, they really want to talk to you so that you understand it. Representing a buyer, you also really need to be aware of kind of coaching your client as to what their options are under a multiple offer situation. So that's a little bit on the buyer side. I want to get more into the listing side, which is the more difficult part about it, especially when you're dealing with a property that has received maybe not one or two offers, but 6 or 7. And those days may still be here, they may be gone, but certainly over the last couple of years, I know I have sold properties that have had as many as 7 offers. So I'm going to really talk more so about handling it as the listing agent because that's really where a lot of all of this information and all of these issues kind of stem from, how the listing agent and the seller handles it. So I'm going to say something right now that is probably the most important thing that you need to know is that when it comes to multiple offers, you're following the seller's lawful instructions. You're not making decisions for the seller. You are informing them about how they can handle multiple offers, and then they decide how they want to handle it. So that's important to know. Probably a good piece of advice would be that when you list a property, especially if you feel that it's a cream puff type listing that is going to pop really quickly, or there's going to be many people that might have interest in it, you're better off letting people know right up front that if we're multiple offers, here's kind of how it could possibly go down, and here's the things that we need to be concerned about, which I will talk about. You may have something written up about that you can give it to them to kind of help them remember what it is that you told them. But certainly when there are multiple offers, you need to advise them as to how it is that they could potentially handle it, and then therefore follow their instructions. So before I move on to some specifics, let me just make sure that I covered a couple of things. And like I said, I utilize the OAR and NAR websites a little bit. If you look at them, they talk a little bit about our code of ethics and how we need to handle these things. And one of the other things I will mention is that I think the better job you do being honest with people to the limitations that you have and to making this process move quickly is going to make things be a lot easier. I think, especially when notifying people that they lose out on a multiple offer situation, quite frankly, I think notifying them by calling them is a little bit better than just emailing or texting them. You can choose to do your business the way that you want, but I think delivering bad news via the phone is a much better situation. I think people, even though they might not like the answer, I think they will respect you more for it, and they will appreciate it. So let's talk a little bit about multiple offers. Because one of the misconceptions out there is that you need to notify people that there are multiple offers. Once again, that's not your decision. I mean, you'll have agents ask you if there are multiple offers, and unless you have gotten information from your client telling you that you have the ability to disclose that, you're not supposed to disclose that. And so you're to follow your seller's instructions. So I know how this goes down sometimes. Sometimes you'll have aggressive agents that they want to write an offer on a property, and they call you up, and you know that you have one offer that maybe you haven't presented, maybe you have presented it, and they go, "Are we in multiple offers?" Well, quite frankly, unless you've talked to your seller already and they've given you the okay to disclose that, then you're not really in position to disclose it. And so therefore, if that person gets you on the phone and they ask that question, and you know you have multiple offers, but that client, your client, the seller, has not told you to go ahead and disclose that to people, then your answer really has to be, I really can't disclose that to you right now because I don't have, any instructions from my seller. So that's the key thing to remember, is that you follow your seller's lawful instructions. So let's talk about a situation where I'll give you a scenario where you've gotten 3 offers on a property, 4 offers, and you have them all in hand, and you're going to sit down with the seller. So, and nobody knows that there are multiple offers. That's the scenario that I'm going to lay out right now. So you sit down with your seller. One of the first things that you need to do, in my opinion, is you need to lay all these offers out on really a spreadsheet, comparing them side by side so your person is informed and can make an informed decision. And it doesn't matter how good those offers are or how lousy they are, you need to present all offers in a timely fashion. And even though you might have multiple offers where 4 of them are above asking and one is $20,000 below asking, you need to present all of them. And obviously the important things that you would want them to see would be all the important things that they need to consider the offers. The purchase price, the type of loan, the down payment, the earnest money, the inspections, the title transfer date, home warranty, contributions to the buyer's closing costs. Laying those all out on a spreadsheet so that you can look at them together, you can both understand them, and that they can, make an informed decision. So here's your scenario with the seller. Mr. Seller, we have these 4 offers. Let's look at them, and here's how it could go. They can look at those 4 offers, and they can look at one and go, I like offer number 1, where do I sign? And then you execute it, and then your phone call to the other 3 people are, you're in multiple offers, and the seller accepted an offer, and I just want to let you know that your offer was not accepted. And you might get a response, which I've gotten many times from many experienced agents who do a lot of business. What do you mean I was in multiple offers? Why didn't you tell me? We would have gone higher. Yada, yada, yada. It's not my job to tell you that. It's my job to follow my seller's lawful instructions they had multiple offers, and they decided to take an offer and sign it, and they weren't interested in the drama that could potentially go with dealing with multiple offers. So it could go that way. You could have a seller that is feeling very confident about their property, and they could say, Mike, go out to these 4 people and tell them there are multiple offers and give them 24 hours to come up with their highest and best offer. And that may work wonderfully for them. And the thing that you need to make sure that you counsel them on is that when you do something like that, you do run the risk that some people may drop out. They may go, oh, I'm finding out I'm in multiple offers. I'm not interested in getting involved in that situation, and I'm withdrawing my offer. So you need to make sure that you counsel them on the potential pitfalls of that type of strategy. Not that that happens all the time, and not that all 4 in my example would drop out, but you do run that risk, and you need to point that out to them. So that would be kind of another scenario number 2 at this point. Scenario number 3 might be that your seller looks at the offer and goes, you know what, Mike, I like offer number 2, and if they would come up a couple $1,000, I would deal with them, and I would execute a contract with them. So in that scenario, you're kind of, putting the other 3 kind of on the back burner, and you're trying to negotiate with number 2. You may inform them that there are multiple offers if your seller tells you that, and we like your offer the best. If you come up $2,000, we'll sign it and we'll take your offer. And once you assume that gets the deal done, once you get the documents executed, you go back to the other 3 and let them know that they're out. Don't do that until you get an executed contract in writing. So a couple of things here. Number 1, it shows you how time is of the essence. You can't mess around with these people because buyers don't like to get messed around with, especially in a hot market where they feel like their offer is maybe being shopped, or just not representing a buyer. Nothing good comes from things dragging out. So time is of the essence in handling it correctly. The other thing about this is that maybe one of those other offers is worthwhile to where your seller would want to negotiate a secondary offer, where that person, you would execute another contract, you would come to terms, and they would be in second position. The first primary offer, they have an inspection, they have financing, and that deal falls apart. That secondary offer then moves into first position, and you seamlessly stay under contract, but now you're dealing with another person. So sometimes in multiple offers, you will see somebody that will sign secondary offers. Okay, so that's something else to be said about the way to handle these multiple offers. And then I think once that, as I said, once that a decision has been made, the document has been signed, I think you owe it to the other agents to call them, leave them a voicemail, talk to them in person. I think that they would appreciate that more than you texting them and just letting them know that they didn't get it, especially if they have no idea that there are multiple offers. I think that you owe that to people. Treating them fairly, honestly, and I think, like I said, I think our business gets lost sometimes in emailing, texting. People don't want to deliver bad news. I think delivering bad news in person or by phone is without a doubt the best way to do it. And once again, it's difficult, but I think that it's many times necessary. So I think those are the key components about these multiple offers. I think a couple of takeaways is that we're under no obligation to tell people that they're in multiple offers. Especially if you've never talked to your seller about it, or you talk to your seller and they told you they don't want anybody to know. If you talk to them and they say, yeah, let them know, just make sure that you explain to them all of the issues that go into the pluses and minuses of letting people know that there's multiple offers. And one of them is that you can push people away. So that's one takeaway. Another one takeaway is that time is of the essence. Another example would be you have an offer in hand, but you have somebody else telling you that they're going to write an offer and it won't be until tomorrow that you get it. You're probably just better off dealing with the offer that you have, and if your seller can get the price that they want, you're probably better off getting that done. We've all been there. Somebody says they're writing an offer, and it's a week later, and you're calling going, where's the offer? And they decide not to write it. So, you're better off dealing in a timely fashion with someone who has written an offer versus waiting on somebody to show up with something that may be better, it may be worse, they may never show up with it. So that's just another piece of advice. Lastly, let me look through my notes here really quickly. There is one time where you do need to disclose something when it comes to multiple offers, and that's if, in a multiple offer situation, if an agent asks you, hey, is one of the offers written by you or your broker? That is something that you do need to answer to them as far as whether or not you get or not. If they don't ask, you don't need to tell them that. But if they do ask that there are multiple offers and they ask you, is one of them written by you or your broker, you need to say yes. And I think the age-old issue here is that I think that people feel that there's a inherent reason for you to sell your own offer, and obviously it's commission-driven, but that is something per OAR that you do need to respond to. So I wanted to point that out. Anything else here? I don't think so. I think I covered as best I could. I think that if, once again, you go to the OAR website, you can kind of hear a little bit more information about what I said. I just think that the main takeaways here are in multiple offers are be timely, follow your seller's or buyer's lawful instructions, and do not need to disclose to people that you're multiple offers. So that's my tease talking about multiple offers, and have a great day.